I guess, okay. All right, Kim Martin is a graduate student. Kim, are you here? All right, there she is. Go ahead and just use your voice.
Oh, I just wanted to know if you could say to this room full of university students, you talked a little bit about the importance of youth voters in both the Republican and Democratic campaigns this election season.
Great. We'll start with a Republican point of view from Adam Putnam.
Start with the youth vote point of view, I guess.
The youth vote.
Look, it is vitally important that young people make their voice heard, whatever your position is. The issues that we face are generational issues. Energy is a generational issue. We're funding both sides of the war on terror, and we don't send old people to fight wars. Healthcare, entitlements. I mean, for a student entering the University of Florida, for a student graduating from the University of Florida and taking their first job, while there are differences of opinion about how to solve Social Security and Medicare, there is no disagreement that it won't be there when you're old enough to receive it. And so those are generational issues that it is very important that young people get engaged on. But I take it beyond that. It is not just that you ought to be involved because we have a representative form of government. We want to have viewpoints from all aspects and all perspectives of our society. It's that on many of these issues, young people are uniquely qualified to weigh in on the policy solution. We take votes all the time on issues relating to technology or globalization. And yet there are still people in the Senate who couldn't turn on a laptop if their life depended on it. And so they think a BlackBerry is just what they put on their cornflakes. And much less when you start talking about Napster and Grokster and file sharing and all these things that are transforming lives. And so young people, because that technology has been an inherent part of your life, and there's a comfort level with it, a comfort level with going online to do your research. I mean, I graduated in 1995. In my last semester, it was considered an innovative teaching tool to assign for a paper that you had to have one source from this thing called the World Wide Web. In 1995, we still called home on Sunday nights after 9 because it was cheaper. And I probably knew 7 people who owned a cell phone. So you have not just an acquaintance, an in-depth knowledge about many of the issues we're dealing with, and it is required that you weigh in a more active way for the candidate of your choice and beyond in some form of public service.
Let me add, if I might, and I tried to say this earlier, talking about Senator Graham and the Graham Center and his attempt to engage young people in public and civic engagement. And you should look in more into what he's doing, who he's working with. I know, for instance, there are several organizations that he's working with, including one that's working on this campus called Florida Campus Compact, that you and some of your colleagues can be involved with and should be involved with. Well, let me tell you something. People like Adam Putnam and we are representatives. And our job is in the hands of those who go to the ballot box and cast their votes. Believe you me, we know who is registered to vote and who's going to the ballot box to vote. And if it's just people my age, where are the policies going to be tilted? And if it's young people in their 20s, late teens, then members of your representative legislative bodies will wake up, because I'm going to tell you, young people, some of the policies that have been in place, decisions that have been made in the last 15 or 20 years by your government are going to cause you to live a different kind of lifestyle, quality of life than I had and some of your parents and grandparents had. And that's not right. And so it's time right now for the younger generation to step up and say, hey, America, we have to look to don't be greedy anymore. We have to look to the middle and latter part of this century and see what the world looks like then. And we want to create an America that will be the economic leader and political leader of the world then like it is now.
Adam, let me slip a question in here real quickly on this sort of notion of new voter interest. The Washington Post had a report. They did a study that showed that there's been a vast increase in voter registration in Florida as a result of the excitement surrounding this election. And it's 3-1 in favor of the Democrats in terms of new voter registration in the state of Florida. That's an astonishing difference. What do you attribute that to, number one?
It's a frightening difference when you're a Republican incumbent.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, does it represent, you talk about generational change. Are we talking about a generational shift toward the Democratic Party on the part of not just young people, but Hispanic voters as well?
Well, you are definitely seeing a shift among youth voters to the Democratic Party right now, just as you saw a shift among youth voters toward Ronald Reagan in the early 1980s. And you saw it briefly with Bill Clinton, and it was a little bit more mixed with Bush. But the question is whether it's a fundamental realignment or whether it's a fad. And in Reagan's time, it did have some period of carryover through the elections, through multiple election cycles. It remains to be seen whether those who have been registered actually vote, and it remains to be seen whether they stick with the person they vote for. Barack Obama himself has said that he is concerned that people project their aspirations onto him. And he has a very impressive but very diverse coalition of people who are projecting aspirations onto him, and if he is the next president, he will immediately have to make some decisions that disappoint some aspect of that coalition. And so that will determine whether it's a real long-term trend or whether it was a function of 2008 and voter frustration with the current administration.